Also, the your interview stuff, don't forget you got to get your mentor interview done. I don't remember the deadline off the top of my head. I think it was in the email I sent out. If you have, you can do it after class, but your applied experiences worksheet, there's a pile of them over there. You can bring those into me. You can bring them in any day during the week and give them to Miss Johnson, who's in the office right there, or Dr. Keller, if he's got someone in his office. Obviously, please don't interrupt. But Miss Johnson's usually here, and Dr. Keller is collecting them, or you can bring them into class to me. Questions on that? Cool. I think I'm also pretty much caught up with grading with you guys. We'll get into the worldview stuff again, and we'll get into that next week, and it'll be really fun and interesting because it was fascinating what you guys wrote. And a lot of you are in one boat, and a few of you are not. So we should have some fun next week. Today is something I'm a little hesitant to do, but I wanted to do because I brought something up 2 weeks ago, and I got blank stares that concerned me a little bit from the people who have had me before. So some of you will probably remember this, so please play along. This is actually something I did in 481, but I did it the second week of class, and if you remember, people could Zoom. Some people also didn't even show. So I went back and looked to see how many of you I had last semester, because I Keelan every semester. Yeah, Maddie, you were absent. Sorry, I don't know where you were. It was September 1st or whatever it was. So anyway, I was a little hesitant to do this, but it's also right in line with what we've been doing all semester with how we're going to handle this. Okay? So I think you guys kind of enjoy that stuff, and it makes for interesting conversation, and maybe it make you think a little bit. So without giving away the ending, if you remember this, because some of you are like, I have no idea that we talked about this, okay? Which is horribly disappointing and hurts me a little bit. But that's okay. You guys are young and shit happens, okay? Maybe I'm not a very good instructor. So don't give away the ending, but please play along. Sound good? Okay? And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, well, welcome to class, okay? We'll have a good time, all right? We'll go over it. Okay. Because I've got Cormer over here and Butters over here, aspiring pilots. This side of the room, they're pilots, okay? This side of the room, also pilots, but commanding officer. Solid, right? Moving up the ranks, okay? We're in the Korean War, the forgotten war. Anybody know anything about the Korean War? History major? Some of you? Good.
Had a really good TV show named MASH.
That's right. Okay, yeah, MASH is more based on the Korean War than Vietnam, which a lot of people don't know. Okay. The Korean War probably should have been called World War III, because if you know that China was actually heavily involved, I think Russia was in there as well, okay, for feeding Korea. All right, so where we are is high in the mountains. We are at altitude. It is freezing ass cold, and it is a nasty environment. Okay, we're up at altitude. The enemy is relentless. Okay, there are a lot of them. Your role as pilots is to support the ground crew. Okay, that's where the war is being fought. It's primarily in the ground crew. Drake, do that after class, okay? Your role is to support them, right? If you get shot down, you are on your own. It's nasty. We're not sure we can get to you all the time, okay? It is high altitude. The rescue in 1950, not anything like today, okay? We learned a lot through each war. We progressed. We got better. We had more helicopters. We had more capabilities, all that good stuff. And you saw a lot of shift in Vietnam and all that good stuff, okay? That's where we're at. Questions so far? Good? We're flying a Corsair, by the way, which is a badass airplane. Okay, it's got the gold wings. You know what I'm talking about? All right. You, as the pilot, you are a rule follower. You're a damn good pilot, and you're a hell of a lieutenant. You guys follow the rules. You set a good example. You treat everyone fairly, tough but fair, all that good stuff. Okay. You, as the commanding officer, you are the rule setter. Here's the rules, follow the rules, okay? You set them there in charge. You guys are actually World War II experienced pilots, okay? Not that long before the Korean War. You've been around the block a little bit, okay? In fact, you lost your brother in World War II. He was shot down, never recovered the body, okay? MIA. The airplane is an asset. Pilot is an asset, airplane's an asset. Don't lose assets, okay? We're obviously dealing with war, so we're talking about lives, and we're dealing with risk. Pilots, now follow along, because it's come back to you. All right, pilots, you guys are flying right along, and the magic bullet happens. Ground crew shoots a rifle, hits a hydraulic line. Your co-pilot, or your wingman, excuse me, is your best friend. He just lost hydraulics and he's going down. This is not a good situation at all. It's getting later in the day, all right? We're high in altitude, we're in the mountains, and you escort your wingman to a controlled crash. You're talking to him, he's incredibly calm. You're amazed at how calm he is, right? He makes a controlled crash, you go up and you're circling with the other airplanes, including with you guys, okay? Your wingman, your best friend, okay, so wherever your best friend is, that's who just got shot down. He's in the plane, but he's not getting out. You can see him. He is not responding on the radio. You can see he's alive. You can see him waving his arms, but he's not getting out of the plane, and there's a tiny bit of smoke coming out of the plane, okay, in the front end, right? Again, it's late in the afternoon, climate sucks, temperature, time, they're all working against you, and the rescue chances are very low. What do you do? What are you going to do?
What is the significance of him not getting out of the plane?
You don't know. Well, I mean, I don't know for significance, but you don't know why he's not getting out of the plane. You can see he's alive. You can see he's waving his arms. He's waving up to you, but he's not communicating. He's not on the radio. So he can't get out of the plane. You see he's alive. What do you do?
I would radio to command that we just had a plane that just crashed.
Okay,
Just to
radio
call
command.
what's going on.
In fact, you do that. You guys, while there's several other planes in the area, you fly a little higher up and a little bit further away so you can have better communication with the aircraft carrier. You tell them we got a down plane and a down pilot, send a helicopter. So that's what you guys are off to. What do you do?
I mean, we can't really, there's nowhere to land or anything, is there?
Not safely.
Best thing to do is keep an eye on him and keep your ear on the radio in case they call in or if he gets a signal to you.
Okay, keep an
Don't know
eye
what
on.
you can
Cool.
do other than that.
Circle around at altitude, make sure, no one comes in on the plane.
Okay.
Does his communications work? I mean, like, can we try to keep...
Can't get a hold of him.
Okay.
Don't know why. Ambrose?
I wouldn't stay too close because that would give out the position.
Okay.
If there's.
I mean, they know the plane went down, but at least you're a little ways away because you were still some altitude. So you crashed. He crashed, but he's a little ways away from the enemy. So you got a little bit of distance there. And they're basically, all you guys are just flying cover.
So there's no immediate threat to us.
Not immediate. There's enemy definitely in the area, but not an immediate threat, no. You know he's in trouble based on the situation. It's not good. Okay? But there's not immediate threat. Does this ring a bell? Do you remember this?
Oh, I remember.
Okay. Thank God.
Are there any, like, friendly forces near the area, or is he...
Just you guys.
Just...
There's ground folks in the air, but not anywhere close. There's friendly ground troops, but not close to him. What else? What are we doing? Zach, what are you doing?
Take down the coordinates.
Coordinates, okay. We know where he's at. We got that covered. What are we doing?
Just maintain security, I guess.
Maintain, okay. You can only do it for so long. Keep going.
Helicopter's on the way, right?
Helicopter's on the way.
I mean, would it?
Keep in mind, you're at such a high altitude, we're not sure the helicopter's going to get there, which you were warned beforehand. What do you got?
I mean, I'm not really sure what there is to do. I mean, is there, what are you gonna go, can you go attack the people that shot him down?
You remember this? Good. I mean, you could. Not going to do a whole lot of good because they're pretty much tucked down. What do you got, Ambrose?
Would he follow instructions if you give him some instructions? Or
What do you mean? Say that. Yeah. What do you mean?
He can't communicate, but does that mean his radio's off, or can he actually
We don't know.
cooperate?
We don't know. We know he's alive. We know he's not communicating.
Are we supposed to crash and then put stuff out? Is that the implied
Yeah.
solution?
Yep. That's exactly what you do. Right? Keelan, what are you going to do?
Crash.
Yeah. Okay. What your pilot just decided to do was a controlled crash. He went down to try and rescue his buddy. Exactly against orders. Okay? That's the path you chose. Your best friend's on the ground. You're not supposed to do it. Right? Not a great place to be. All right? What if everybody starts doing that? And we got 4 planes on the ground and nobody's coming to get us and we're in trouble, right? What you decide to do is actually crash the try and go rescue your buddy. Commanding officer comes back. And you're like, what the hell just happened? Okay, you now have 2 planes and 2 pilots on the ground. All right. So, what do you think?
I think you gotta at least tell the helicopter crew that there's 2 planes down now.
Yep. Okay. So, actually, that's what happens. You're on the ground, controlled crash, you're a little banged up, but your adrenaline's through the roof. Okay. You run over and you see your buddy, he's alive. He is pinned in the plane. Can't get out. During the crash, took everything off. The radio was disconnected. Can't communicate. Took his helmet off anyway, so couldn't hear, couldn't talk. That's why he couldn't communicate. You run over to the plane. You see he's banged up. You run back to your plane and you radio. Hey, we need this is how different rescue was then. They radio to the rescue helicopter. We need an axe. Go back and get one. The helicopter's already airborne. They tell them to turn around and go back and get an axe because we can't get him out of the plane. Okay, so that's a bit of information that you got. You learned his radio was out. He's still alive. He's banged up pretty bad, and he's stuck in the plane. Helicopter's going back to get an axe. Commanding officer, what are you thinking right now? What do you got?
Nothing you can change at this point.
Huh?
Nothing you can change at this point.
Okay. What are you thinking about your guy though? Or both of them?
At least there's somebody there to like make sure, like to check on things.
Okay.
Try to get
But you're like probably real pissed at the same time.
Yeah, probably a little concerned. Okay. Fuel and daylight working against you. Yeah, got that covered. Okay. All right. So again, we know everything's working against us for time, right? It's cold, we're at altitude, all that good stuff. Send back for the X. Helicopter shows up, brings the X. You can't get him out. He's stuck in the plane. His back is actually broken, which you didn't know. You knew he was banged up pretty bad. You didn't know how bad it was. His leg's in bad shape. He's pinned in the aircraft. It's not good. Okay. Eventually, the helicopter says, we got to go. You leave without your buddy. He actually dies while you're there. Okay. You get in the helicopter because the helicopter pilot says, we got to go now or you're going to die too. We're going to freeze to death up here. The enemy's going to get us. By the way, you see footprints in the snow when you get there. Okay, so there are at least people in the area. You don't know if they're just natives or it's the enemy. You get back to the aircraft carrier. What do you think is going to happen to you? Think you're going to get the axe?
Yeah, I mean, you
Okay.
crashed a plane.
Okay.
Put your life at risk too.
Yep.
And that's one of the big things right there is if they know you're willing to risk your life like that crazy to do crazy shit like that, I don't know if you're much of an asset anymore as a liability.
Okay. Interesting. What do you think is going to happen to you, Zach?
Like get fired.
Gonna get fired? Okay. No more fine. Court martial maybe? Okay. What else?
Firing squad.
What do you think is going to happen? Trevino, what do you got?
Maybe, yeah, definitely they're gonna be grounded. You're not gonna fly anymore.
Okay. So maybe just get grounded?
Yeah, maybe demoted. I don't know.
Okay. Maybe busted down?
Yeah.
Okay. Lose some rank? Okay. Anything else?
Maybe get like screamed at really aggressively by your track officer.
Just get yelled at? Okay. All right, commanding officers, what are you doing to your pilot?
How good of a pilot is he?
He's a damn good pilot. He's a hell of a good pilot. One of your best. What are you doing, Kellen?
I mean, I'm of the mindset it's better to ask forgiveness than permission, so.
Okay, so what are you doing to him?
I'd say at the very minimum you ground him for a time,
Okay.
and at the very most dishonorable discharge.
Okay.
Not actually like court martial, but.
Okay. All right, so we might kick him out. Okay. Kelsey, what do you got?
Ever since you did the scenario a few weeks ago about like what's more important, people or resources, and everyone was like resources, and then you were like really, and then everyone was like, oh, okay. I very much like the guy knew exactly what he's doing. Like the pilots, they know exactly what they're gonna go do. They're making that decision on their own.
Yeah.
So that needs to be punished because they're willfully
Okay, yeah, right. You don't want 4 planes on the ground, right?
Right.
Okay.
I mean, it is a lot of money, but at the end of the day, if we're holding ourselves, CEO's holding himself or herself to a standard of people over assets and resources and money and stuff like that, then that needs to be shown.
3 or 4 weeks ago, before we talked about that in class, what are you doing?
What do you mean?
What you mentioned what we talked about in class, having like putting doubt in your head.
Yeah, like what was it? We were in a C-130 or something like
Right.
that, flying over.
Yeah, Vietnam.
Yes.
Is that what we did? Yeah. Okay. Help the pilot.
Or not help the pilot. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Over enemy territory, I think is what it was.
Okay. So what is that changing for you?
Realizing that the people actually that were in that mission, that they went over, they got the guy and they brought him back, and it took like to make the decision it took like 20 seconds.
Okay.
Like
Yep.
really? Sat here
Okay.
for 5 minutes.
So does that change what you're doing today with this scenario?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I realized that people's lives are more important.
Okay. College Station.
I want to make sure the pilot's okay. You don't just like lose your best friend.
Okay.
Like before we worry about like, you suck. Like,
Okay. Colin's kicking him out. He's done, right? And you're wondering if your guy's okay. He just lost his best friend.
yeah,
Okay. I hope so. Okay. Even if you're pissed. Alexis, what are you doing? Before I get to you guys, because I think you know. Do you guys remember? I know he does.
Like, you have to go with what he said, that you gotta make sure that your pilot's okay, first of all.
Okay.
And everything's fine. And then afterwards, I still have to come up with some kind of punishment.
Okay.
I still punish him.
Okay. So make sure your guy's good, but you still gonna beat his ass.
Yes, because like, hey, he's the best one. He has to know that he's
You still need him, right?
Yeah.
We still need him. He's a good pilot. Okay. Or
Yeah,
she.
But he still has to be held to our standards. And
Okay.
yeah, even if he is the best, he still has to follow the rules.
Okay. Maddie.
I'd rather have someone on my team that values the lives of other people over like a plane, but I would honestly commend him for it.
Who's thinking about the guy on the ground? Yeah. Why? Ramon.
That was his best friend, and his best friend just died. Like, he tried to save him.
Yeah. What if you're in that spot, Kellen? What if you're the dude on the ground that got shot down?
I mean, I don't want to like be abandoned, but
What do you think you're thinking about sitting in the plane stuck that you're gonna die all alone on a mountain?
well, I try and find like how bad was I trapped? Hypothetical, like just like
Can't get you out. 2 dudes and an axe couldn't get you out of the plane. It's bad. Okay. Now today's rescue technology and all that stuff, we get him out. Okay. 1950 we did. All right. But put yourself in that guy's shoes. That's a bad place to be, right? Okay. What are you doing, Brandon?
Honestly, in situations like that, I think I would like to kind of question the thought process that was going through his mind, because he's there and he's thinking, okay, I need
Of
to
your
follow-
pilot?
Of the pilot, yes.
The one that's crashed
The
on
one-
purpose.
The one that crashed on purpose. he
Okay.
got saved. I would just kind of question, like, okay, so you saw what was going on. Did you think before you called the helicopter, an axe is actually going to work for this? Did you, assess the situation before you made the action? Because that's what I feel like is more important, figuring out if it was just like a straight impulse action, if it was just like, he looks like he can't get out of there at all, but still, let's get an axe anyways. Let's go through all that trouble sending the helicopter back,
Mm-hmm.
potentially putting more people in danger.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it would just be more important to get what he was thinking.
Okay. So what's your reasoning? You went back to save your best friend, right? Okay. My best friend's dying on the ground, or at least injured. We don't know how bad, but he's still alive. So I went back trying to save his life. Then what are you gonna do?
I mean, I guess more of my thing is I would question each step in the process. From
Okay.
the moment that, obviously he went down to save his friend, yes. But
Yep.
then every action after that, what was happening in your head?
So you get on the ground. Here's what happened. You get on the ground. You see how bad your buddy is. He's in bad shape. Still alive. But he's in bad shape. Can't get him out on your own. You try like hell. You also actually put the fire out that was about to start with the snow on the ground. So you get the fire out. Otherwise, he probably burns to death. Okay, stuck in the plane. You do learn, hey, we need something to get him out. We can't get him out he's not strong enough, he's hurt, I'm not strong enough, I can't get him out, we need something. So we call and we get an axe to try and help the rescue effort. Okay? So that's everything that he went through. And then finally the helicopter pilot says, we gotta go or we're both in trouble. So that's what happened. So now what do you do?
So at that point, I mean, you know, if I would had all of that explained to me, I guess the overarching thing would be kind of like what she was saying, is putting myself in the shoes of him.
Okay.
You know, if that were my best friend there, would I have done the same thing? Which personally, I absolutely would have.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I want to know. What would you do? Ready?
Ground time, psych evaluation, make sure he's still okay.
What'd you say? Ground him?
Yeah.
Okay. And then check on him?
Yeah.
Okay.
If he's okay, put him back up.
Okay.
If he's not, leave him there.
Let him fly again?
If he's okay.
Yeah. As long as mentally he's fine. Get back in the fight, right? We're all losing people. I mean, it's war. It sucks. Okay. Michael?
I would say I would ground him for a little bit and tell him that I appreciate that you care about fellow pilots, but you
What? Sorry, that sounds funny, but what?
you crashed the plane and disobeyed orders, so I would have to inform him.
Yeah, what if he got killed, right? Yeah, you screwed up my plane. Okay. Brendan, what are you doing?
I'm doing pretty much what he said, just make sure he's okay, and then I want to punish him. I really don't see a reason from his perspective that downing yourself would have done anything. Rescue's still on the way, and now you put yourself at risk, ignoring the plane, even if you want to value life more. There is no way that you can wind out better. You will wind up injured or potentially dead as well, compounding and making the problem more difficult for those rescuing your buddy.
Maybe. Okay, right? Because if they get there without the axe,
And even if you can get them out, that's nothing that the rescue team can't do, and now they're just two people to rescue two planes that are down.
mm-hmm.
They wouldn't have the axe.
He also mentioned that you put out the fire too.
Yeah. 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 Does anybody remember what happened?
Yeah, you got the middle one.
Sure as hell did. This is Ensign Jesse Brown. He is the Navy's first black carrier pilot in history. This was actually in Life magazine shortly beforehand. He was the one shot down. Okay, he grew up a sharecropper's son in Mississippi, dirt poor. All he ever wanted to do was fly airplanes. In order to fly, he had to be an officer. At the time, he only had to go to school for 2 years. He didn't have to get a 4-year degree. He went to Ohio State because that's where he knew that Jesse Owens went. Okay? And they knew he'd be allowed in. Went to Ohio State for 2 years, got commissioned in the Navy, and had a hell of a time getting there. Okay? And a hell of a time through pilot training. Tom Hunter is there receiving the Medal of Honor for his actions to try and save his best friend. That's what happened to him. Despite all the risk, despite ruining an asset, selflessly crashed his plane, arguably a very stupid decision, to try to save the life of another American on the ground in enemy territory. Hudner grew up in the Northeast. Dad went to Harvard, successful businessman, was going to have his son go to Harvard, take over the family business, owned a chain of grocery stores, country club, summers in the mountains, all that good stuff. Okay? Together, in the military, became best friends. Right? They treated the other pilots, treated Jesse just like one of their own. This is in 1950. This was not common. All right? That's actually Jesse's wife right there, and the President of the United States. That was the first day that they met. The first time he met Jesse's wife, Lieutenant Hudner. She was not allowed to stay in any hotels in D.C. at the time. She got invited up to Washington, D.C. to witness this and be a part of it and honor her husband, and there were not hotels that would allow her. In fact, one of Lieutenant Hudner's white relatives' last name was Brown. He was a cousin, and they thought it was related to Jesse, and they wouldn't let him stay in a hotel because he called over the phone. Now, somewhat related to where we are in your paper, we've come a long ways in this country. Come a long ways right here in A&M. Okay? I have a friend, this probably shouldn't go on video. I have a friend who went here to A&M. He is African American, and we'd go meet with old Ags, and they would say, "Were you in the Corps?" He would say, "No, they wouldn't let my kind in when I was here." there'd be kind of a pucker moment of uncomfortability, and he'd go, lazy. He wouldn't let lazy people in. I laughed every time. Okay? If you really want to get into this, if you want to know the story, I highly recommend you read this book. This is a true story, and there's a lot more to it than that. It gets into the ground war and the support and all that, especially if you guys want to fly. What Hudner did was heroic. Absolutely without question. Was it reckless and stupid? Hell yeah, it was. Are any of you wrong for wanting to punish him? No. One of the main reasons that you as the commanding officer didn't is because you lost your brother in World War II, and it bothers you to this day. You don't know what happened to your brother. You never got his body back. The fact that Hudner was so selfless to say, I don't know what's wrong, but I'm going to friggin' crash my plane in the side of a mountain to try to save his life, is one of the most selfless things I can possibly imagine. Yeah, it was reckless. Yeah, it was dangerous. I can build a new plane. Okay? A lot easier. I can make another person. It's going to take a lot longer. Okay? You can make it, right? That's what somebody brought up in another class. Well, that's the logic. I can make another pilot. Nah, it's going to take you a little while. Okay? It's a little harder than building a plane. Right? As Kelsey brought up, and wisely, this is why I challenge you guys. Okay? And some of you, believe it or not, love to do this. Rules are meant to be broken, right? Orders, believe it or not, can be questioned. Sometimes they should be. It depends on who you are. Who are you inside? When we talked about the one from Vietnam, the guy said, I sleep well at night, right? Hudner never wanted any notoriety, didn't want the Medal of Honor, thought he was going to get court-martialed, thought he'd get kicked out of the Navy, thought he'd never fly again, he thought all of those things. Commanding officer said what he did was heroic, put him in for Medal of Honor. Commander of the ship said that's one of the most unbelievable things I've ever heard. And up went his paperwork. Okay? And the guy was a wreck. All he cared about was his buddy. Okay? In fact, I believe Hudner is still alive. If not, it's been recently that he passed. They actually went to North Korea to try to find Jesse's plane and the side of the mountain. And they did not meet with Kim Jong-un, but they met with some military leaders. This is a big deal for Americans to go there. And this is not a pretty time in anyone's history they really want to talk about. But he went there to try to find the plane. Unfortunately, weather and 60, 70 years of erosion and all that good stuff, they weren't able to find it, but they're still trying to, if they can go back. But Hudner went with a group of folks, including the author of this book, to try and find Jesse's plane. What they actually did was there was a recon mission the next morning. They saw Jesse's body. Everything in the plane had been stripped, including jacket, helmet, everything he had pretty much, and they dropped a bomb on the plane. And they didn't want to leave any other assets or anything there. They just wanted to destroy it. So his remains were destroyed. But the lesson in here is, who are you in those tough situations? Nobody thought, well, I'm going to crash my plane, right? It didn't really pop into anyone's mind. Okay? That's reasonable. This is the hard part, okay? We're talking hypothetical, what would you do? But in the moment, who are you? You got to decide. Am I going to risk everything to go and rescue my buddy? I don't care about anything else but saving my buddy's life. Now, hopefully it's not that dramatic, right? But you're going to have situations in your life, civilian, military, I don't care, that are going to suck. You're going to have to make hard decisions, and sometimes it's spur of the moment. Okay? I'll tell you this is anecdotal, but it's true, okay? This was, I don't know, this was probably a year ago, and it still bothers me. By the way, Oregon State lost last night, and had they won, I would have brought in food for you guys, so you don't even know that you missed out on a snack. Okay? So sorry, yeah, single tier. We almost made the Final Four. Huh? Right. I was getting kolaches one morning, probably for a class, actually. I was getting kolaches one morning, bring them in. I'll do something for you guys, for seniors. I'll do something. In fact, remind me at the end of class what you would like, okay? Not for the sophomores, but I'll do it for you guys. Okay? And there was a cop, and he's buying a couple kolaches and chocolate milk. He didn't need them, if I'm being honest, okay? But that's his breakfast. He's a cop. That's a hard-ass job, right? And his debit card wasn't working. He didn't have any cash or anything. And I was like, oh, I should pay for his. That's the right thing to do. It's like $8, okay? And I hesitated, and I didn't, and the store people actually just gave it to him. They said, take it. He said, no, and they said, no, just take it. Come in here all the time, you're good. It eats at me that I didn't react quick enough. It really bothers me, still. This is a stupid little thing. They gave him the food anyway. It bothers me, okay? Step up. Pain, handle it, right? You're going to have moments like this your entire life. How many of you can think, how many of you lay in bed at 3 in the morning, you're like, man, I can't believe I said that, right? Spent to a girl, you never had a chance, did you, Keelan? Yeah, right? Okay. That's how we're wired, right? We dwell on things we did wrong. Any other degenerate gamblers like myself? Yeah. Can you think of a time when you lost money?
Yes.
Yes. Much easier than you can the victories, right?
Yes.
So figure out who you guys want to be. This is what matters, okay? That's what we talk about here. That's what I had today, okay? Relatively short. Some of it was covered. I kind of hated duplicating, but I hope you got something out of it. Okay? Good? Good. I like it. And honestly, the book is phenomenal. You have a hard time putting it down, even if you don't like reading. Okay? It's really good stuff, and a lot of those dudes were still alive when he was writing it. Okay? And for you pilot types, he wrote another book called A Higher Call that is World War II, and it's both sides, Germany and America and Europe, and it's phenomenal, I guess. That was his first one. This week's assignment is posted. It's a discussion post. Oh, that was the other thing. Okay, in fact, I'll turn this off. I don't need it.